Hey everyone, we're back and we're dealing with some more practical suggestions when studying religions. The third thing that I wanted to mention here, of course, is when someone criticizes your religion, are they criticizing the actual content of the theology of the religion? Like, Jesus, taught that you should love one another. Or are they criticizing the misuse of that religion? Fact that there's abuse in the church or something like that. So, to reject everything, it's kind of crazy. It may not be a valid attack upon the essence of what the person believes at all. I mean, I've used the analogy of, there's going to be an awesome party where everybody's going to be there, all your friends are going, and you just happen to not like, say, pineapple juice. But you go, your friend is calling you, and he's running the party, and he's like, "Yo, you come in," and you're like, "Yeah, I just want to, like, what's you gonna have food? You gonna have drink? Yeah, we're gonna have food. We're gonna have drinks." And you're like, "Yo, what kind of drinks are you gonna have?" And you're like, "Oh, we're gonna have all kinds of stuff. We're gonna have different different adult beverages. We're gonna have soda. We're gonna have juices." And you're like, "Juices? Like, are you gonna have pineapple juice?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was gonna grab some pineapple juice." It's like, "Oh, well, I'm not coming then." Right? The idea that you would throw out everything that is good because there are some abuses or things that are not what you prefer. That's kind of crazy, and that's not how we like to criticize religions. Right? Religions are made up of people, and people are flawed. Right? But the concepts behind them, that's what we need to observe and pay attention to, and we'll learn about that. Um, we want to particularly pay attention to that when we deal with Islam. The next thing that we want to talk about here is number four. Another very important. If you really want to know what is the essence of a religion, look at what is best about that religion. Particularly, look at examples of those who live out that religion best. Like if some aliens were come down and they're like, "Hey, could you tell us about Christianity?" I would show them Mother Teresa. Well, not really Mother Teresa. She passed away. That would be weird and gross. But I would use her as an example of somebody who lived out Christianity. She would be an example of what I wanted to decide about Christianity. All right, so moving on to some more things here. Um, Studying religion, you have to do both objectively and subjectively. Objectively, throughout history, religion's been taught mostly about and by clergy, right, in order to convince people to believe. But now, using the scientific method of observing and collecting data without prejudice, it allows us a reasonable judgment of a particular religion, and we'll do that. That's what we're going to do this this semester, is to look at different religions in an objective kind of way. But also, if you really, that's not going to be enough. If you look at things subjectively, it's at the essence of what religion is. You really can't understand something if you don't really get into it. I can talk to you about what it's like to be at New Era Field at a Bills game, and just everything going crazy and people going nuts. Um, but if you haven't experienced it, and I could, me telling you about it isn't going to be enough. So I want to give you an analogy here. Imagine I gave the whole class like a goldfish, right? And I say, go home, learn everything you can about the goldfish, and come back next week and tell me about it, right? So half of you go home, and in an analytical way, you take the goldfish out of the bowl, you put him on a plate, and you dissect him, and you learn everything there is to know about the fish, the digestive system, how does the eye work, how do the gills work, right? You learn it all, right? And so you get to know the goldfish. The rest of you take the fish home, and like this little boy down here, um, over here, you put him in a bowl, maybe get him a little castle that he can swim in and out of, the little scuba guy maybe, and you give him food, and you talk to him and you play different kind of music and you find out, maybe he is a big, like, old school rapper, Tupac fan or something like that. And you get to know it, you give it a name and you come to kind of create a bond, right? You come to love the fish, right? Now you have a completely different way. So when you come back the next week, you know, you have two different ways of understanding what the fish is, and both of them are important to understanding the full concept of what fish. Or Jimmy at a wedding asking why grandma's crying. He doesn't understand uh, what what that love truly values, and so he thinks adults are silly, right? So it's a situation where he's analyzing the situation, but he has no subjective understanding of why grandma's crying. That's the importance of subjectivity, and a lot of the times that's what happens when we we judge religions sometimes too objectively, as that we don't have any connection to it and we don't get it. We don't get why people are so enraptured with a particular religion. All right, so moving on here. Um, all right, next one, avoiding syncretism. What's syncretism? So, syncretism is the uh, conciliation or union of different principles or parties or beliefs, right? It's a buffet style. It's like, well, I'm going to take a little bit of Buddhism here and a little bit of Hinduism here and the best of Christianity there. I'm just going to make my own religion, right? This sounds really good, but there are some serious problems with this. I'm going to move me again here. Um, the great faiths have such little internal integrity that one can simply put off little parts and they'll stand alone. It's like a spider web. So I have these spider webs over here. Each strand depends on the other and the tension of the whole thing. So you could say, well, I'm going to go over here to these spider webs and I'm going to cut a little bit of this spider web. I like that. And I'm going to go over here and cut a little bit of that spider web and a little bit down here. And I'm going to take those parts and put them all together and make a perfect spider web. You clearly know that won't work, right? Because each spider web is in tension, both the good parts of it and the bad parts of it, right? And it kind of goes together. And what makes a religion's pieces to have value is their place in the larger construct. The web's still beautiful, even if a few strands are torn away. And so that's why we have to avoid syncretism. So when we start pulling these things apart and we try to make our own, we lose connection. And by the way, the very definition of religion is that we are sharing that. My definition of syncretism, or at least my analogy, is the favorite football team in America right now. And you might guess it's, I don't know, the Cowboys or the Chiefs, or whoever you think, but it's not. The number one football team in America are people's own fantasy teams, right? Um, and so they put these things together, and they're taking a player from here and from there, and putting together their own team. And these teams are your own, and they have no connection to anyone else, right? Um, the most annoying thing in the world is somebody wanting to tell you about their fantasy team. Nobody really cares beside you if you're doing well, and that's that's goes against the very heart of what religion is supposed to be when it's supposed to be bringing us together. All right, wait till the next slide.